Welcome back to the mill run in Western Maryland. Hey, I know it's been a while since my last video, but speaking of which, a couple months ago, I did a video on two Rivarossi 060s that I purchased from trains.com. My intentions were to renumber and re-letter these locomotives for the mill run in Western Railway. So what happened to these things? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today, along with the process that I use to custom number and letter locomotives in rolling stock. So hop on, let's see what you think. Meet Mill Run and Western Railway Locomotive number 5 and Locomotive number 4. The Mill Run and Western is my railroad name. The story is that the Mill Run and Western interchanged coal with the Western Maryland. Eventually, the MR&W purchased the line that connected them to the Western Maryland along with some of their locomotives. They later changed the name to the Mill Run and Western Maryland. Number 5 ended up being the better of the two locomotives. It shows very little wear, and it's got a good strong motor. Of all things, it will outpull number 4 by a long shot, which I find kind of odd. Number 5's performance is actually really good considering its age. Number 4 needed a little bit of work. It ended up getting another motor, but unfortunately this locomotive is all but worn out. It has trouble with the pickups because the running gear is so sloppy. But despite number 4's wear, it became the guinea pig for some detail work, such as brass bands and painted handrails. Each locomotive wear their numbers proudly. The rear of the tender, both sides of the cab, and the smoke box. The decals I use are by Micoscale. I also use their setting solution, Micoscale, to both remove the original lettering and apply the custom decals. So let's transition a little bit and talk about that process. So whenever I'm doing any work to rolling stock or locomotives, always goes on a foam pad to protect the surface of the detail work from getting damaged. Next, I take the Micoscale and I apply it to the surface of the numbers or letters that I'm trying to remove. And I just kind of let it soak in a little bit. I'll take a detail brush and kind of work it in, because the idea is once the letters start to come off, they generally come off fairly easy. My favorite tool for this job though is a stiff bristle brush, something that's not really abrasive, but it's stiff enough to where I can really scrub these numbers off, because that's basically what you're going to end up doing. Occasionally I can apply some more Micoscale to kind of keep the surface lubed up, keep from scratching or damaging the surface. Kind of along the lines with the detail brush, sometimes I'll take the end of a paintbrush and just lightly scratch on the numbers as they're soaked with Micoscale until I see a little bit of color start coming off. Then I know I can start scrubbing and these numbers will come off. It's very important to be careful what kind of tools you use and what kind of chemicals you use to do this process. I use Micoscale because it's designed for working with models. I use stiff bristle brushes because they're still soft enough that they're not going to cause any damage. Now that our original factory numbers are removed, let's talk about the custom decals. So the decaling for me is a little bit more tedious because I'm using a custom name. So I got to cut out each letter from my decal board individually. I do this by using an X-Acto knife. Once I've got all my decals cut out, I take a small tub of water and I place the decal that I want to start with in the water for about 30 seconds to a minute. This softens the backing paper of the decal so that it will slide off and you can apply it to your model. While the decal is soaking, I apply a little bit of Micoscale to the surface of the model. Next, I remove the decal from the backing paper and I apply it to the location on the model that I put the Micoscale. Now, putting the Micoscale on there beforehand gives you the ability to move the decal around, and it will also help it set up. Then I take a little bit of dab of Micoscale and put it on top of the decal. This will help soften it. This especially works well whenever you're applying a decal over an area there's a seam or handrail, or maybe not so much a handrail, but some rivets, different detail work. It helps soften the decal so it conforms to the surface. Last step, I take the paper towel and do a real quick dab to kind of dry up any excess microsol on the surface, and then just let it set up. From here, it's just rinse and repeat. The process using microscale decals isn't really that hard, and I'm personally pleased with the results and the quality of the decal. Well, there you have it. The process we used on number 16 is the exact same process I used to decal number 4 and number 5. Let me know what you think of this process down in the comments below. So back to Locomotive 4 and 5. Despite the varying performance issues between the two locomotives, I'm very pleased with how they've turned out, and I think they represent the Mill Run and Western Railway very well. Well, I hope you've enjoyed catching up with Locomotive number 4 and 5, and there's more to come, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on that bell icon so you don't miss out on what's coming up next on the Mill Run in Western Maryland. Thank you for watching.